What is up, guys? It's Morgan. We are back on Rugby 20 today, but we won't be focusing too much on the gameplay today. There's been some big news coming out recently in the wonderful world of international rugby. If anyone hasn't known so far on the channel, I've been doing a couple of reviews of the Super Rugby going on, but it's nice to be hearing a little bit more about some of the international scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chuck on a game in the background if you want some visual stuff to watch, but it's mainly going to be a chatting thing about some of the new news that's been going on. So let's get started on what I came across recently. So yesterday, guys, I was just on my phone. I was busy working. I got into a lunch break, so I clicked on my phone. I accidentally pressed the Super Brew app, which is an app for anyone who doesn't know. You can do sort of fantasy leagues and stuff. I've been doing it with a couple of my mates over the World Cup and over the Six Nations, doing a bit of Super Brew Fantasy League, which is a lot of fun. And if the rugby ever starts back up properly again, I absolutely recommend everyone jumping on. But I accidentally opened it, didn't mean to, clicked on it. I got some big fat thumbs that love touching the wrong apps. So it opened up, and I'll put on screen now what popped up. So as you can see here, this is a list of games coming up for the fantasy league that I was in, and I was quite surprised that it said here that on Monday the 14th of September we'd be able to pick a team for Wales versus Scotland. And I thought, well, maybe this is just delayed because of when the Six Nations was originally cancelled. They were talking about moving it to the end of the year. However, no dates were actually confirmed as far as I was aware. And then, of course, there's a further one down there. The Fantasy Six Nations, the round 6 lockout is then on the 5th of October. So it means that actually behind closed doors, something's been going on. Something's been decided that there are going to be matches played, and we even have the dates that these are going to be played on, which took me a little bit by surprise. I thought maybe it was a bit of a mistake, and maybe it wasn't exactly correct, but it found it a little bit suspicious that teams were already on there. I have seen in the news recently there was a talk about what if they redid the whole Six Nations, but it was going to be based in London and all the teams would be isolated and they'd almost redo all the games again, which I think would have been a bit harsh for France. France had a great Six Nations, and it's a shame it sort of got taken away from them a bit with the whole virus and whatnot. So I had a little look into it over the past sort of day or two. And one of my friends today sent me a link to an article written by independent.ie, not a place I follow an awful lot, but said there's been a bit more confirmation on this thing happening. So this tournament I thought wasn't going to go ahead. I know a lot of nations weren't really up for it. You're basically talking about having a Six Nations based in one of the countries' locations where all the games are played, where one team would always get to play at home, which to me gives it a slightly unfair advantage. It's sort of a Six Nations but in someone's own World Cup variation, which I'm sure we won't want to bring up too much for the England fans, the 2015 World Cup where they where they got knocked out of their own World Cup, but we won't get into that too much. So I found this article today, so I'll chuck it on screen now. I don't know how easy it's going to be to read at the time of recording, so I'll read through the article as we're going through it. So they're basically talking about doing a new tournament with all the Six Nations teams and adding in 2 more teams. So we're going to have the standard team. There's going to be the France, Italy, Scotland, Ireland. They're going to be talking about adding in Japan and Fiji. And then, obviously, there'll be England versus Wales in there as well. So there'll be some interesting things. So I'll bring up the article now on screen for everyone. So this is it. This is the independent article that was up. And it says, Japan and Fiji are expected to be confirmed as 2 guest nations to join the Six Nations sides in an inaugural 8-team tournament in November and December. So this is actually going on. This has been decided. Something's going on. The Six Nations are effectively becoming the 8 nations for a bit of time, which is interesting. Negotiations between nations and clubs are continuing this week about the completion of the 2020 fixture schedule and proposals to restructure the global calendar. The World Cup Council meeting, which had been scheduled for today to vote on allowing international rugby to be played in October as well as November, has been postponed until mid-July to allow talks to continue. So they are really looking for this. They're even looking to confirm dates. I think this will still be based in the London tournament that they've talked about. I know a couple of teams are struggling now financially, so they're trying to add some more games in for people to earn a bit more money. But it carries on. Sources indicated last night that it was the most likely option that the new look tournament would replace the scheduled matches against the Southern Hemisphere opposition because of COVID-19 travel restrictions and the delay to the start of the Southern Hemisphere's Rugby Championship. So this is basically going to get rid of the Autumn International Series that goes on, where a lot of the Northern Hemisphere teams play the Southern Hemisphere teams, which is, you know, a big part of the annual rugby season. So it would completely take over that, and it would be just basically these 8 teams playing out between each other. Ireland have been due to face Australia, South Africa and Japan at the Aviva Stadium in November, but those fixtures are set to be replaced by a tournament involving 2 pools of 4 with matches played on November 14th, 21st and 28th. So there's even a schedule. They've even arranged that there's now going to be 2 sets of 4 teams, whether they play each other and then you know, the top 2 teams may go on from that to play a bit of a semi-final, then a final against each other. I don't know, but they've come across. They've made dates for the games and everything, and even the final. The final will take place on December 5th. So this is all being sort of trajectoried out a little bit, which I'm finding quite interesting. I'm looking forward to if they do this tournament. It will be a lot of fun to watch if it's on. The more contentious issue surrounds the completion of the season's 6 Nations matches and how that impacts the Premiership Rugby's aim of completing its campaign. With the Champions Cup final scheduled for October 17th, the English clubs have earmarked the following weekend for their final. So a lot of the England-based teams obviously playing in their own leagues, and how will it affect their teams wanting to play other matches if they're going to be playing at club level? Obviously clubs won't want to lose them if they're managing to restart the games. Obviously New Zealand have now got it carrying on with the rugby tournament over there. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see how it would affect international teams like that. However, with England's outstanding 6 Nations match against Italy penciled in for October 31st, that would mean no members of Eddie Jones's squad would be available for the Premiership final. So then it comes down to, do teams then decide whether an international series trying to play through for 6 Nations that's sort of been broken up and is sort of a bit null and void now, unfortunately, do teams want to release players for an international side, or would they want to keep them on their own teams to, you know, get them through to the final in their own club level? So it's an interesting debate there about who would be able to go in. It might be nice, you might be able to get to see a little bit more of a youthful England side, so there might be some different angles to that, but obviously with their 6 Nations actually not going terribly for England, they'll probably want to have a strong team on to play Italy just to get the most points they can from that. Talks about the global campaign are even more complex, with the clubs in England and France raising objections to the proposal by World Rugby Working Group representing the 6 Nations and Southern Hemisphere nations to move the July window for test matches to October to create a new international series. So both the English League and the French League are looking to sort of mix it up a bit. They've obviously both got their own club level rugby they want to get involved with. I'm sure France, most people would penciled in France to win that 6 Nations. They were in superb form. They were beating everyone. They were playing the best rugby I've seen out of them for a long, long time. Obviously, after they lost to Wales in the World Cup, they had a big bounce back before they've got their own coming up in a few years' time. So it's interesting to see how they're going to try and mix and match this. They obviously want to have an international scene. I know there's been big questions about Wales' financial series going on at the minute. They're trying very hard to work out some sort of agendas. They've lost their Sevens team, talking about creating a UK Sevens team rather than having individual teams. So other international sides would probably want to get involved with this quite heavily. Japan and Fiji, you know, it'd be nice for them to get to play some other games, you know, some more top tier nations, get some more games in. Japan obviously beating Ireland and Scotland in that World Cup, making themselves, you know, firm favourites to move up as potentially into that top tier nation section. And there was other talks, you know, earlier in the year and last year about maybe changing the 6 Nations to allowing other teams in. I know South Africa was mentioned. There's some big talks about this. So I want to know what you guys think about this. Would this be something you'd be interested in watching, a sort of an 8 Nations tournament instead of a 6 Nations tournament based in London? Would you prefer just to have them play the club rugby? Would you prefer the 6 Nations gets written off and this is classed as a whole new tournament? Do you want teams to have played the rest of their 6 Nations games first and then they jump into an 8 Nations tournament? Let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys think. I think it's a really interesting topic of discussion that I'd love to have some talks about with people about it. If you like this sort of video that I've done here, just a bit of news, a bit of some news stories going on, make sure you drop the video a bit of a like just to let me know that this is sort of content you're interested in. I'm going to try and follow this as this develops a little bit. We're also doing a few more rugby videos and a couple of reviews of the games that have been going on in New Zealand, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel just to stay up to date with all our videos. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye bye.